everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be unboxing Scythe, Invaders from Afar. This is the very first expansion for Scythe, the first one that I'm going to be adding into my base game of Scythe, and it comes with 2 new factions. That's the big draw for Invaders from Afar, is you're going to be adding 2 new factions into the known 5 that come in the base game. Of course, any factions for Scythe have their own strategic advantages and disadvantages, and by adding 2 more factions, you now have more choice, not only in which factions you're going to start with, but also increasing the number of players in Scythe, because Scythe can handle up to 7 players playing at the same time. So it's not just an expansion to give you more options from 1 to 5, because it does play solo as well, which is the reason I'm showcasing it on the channel, but also the fact that, as you can see down here, which you probably can't, so what I'll do is I'll quickly just zoom in for you guys. The expansion itself points to 2 new factions. A 6 to 7 player expansion is what this is all about, and it's 14 plus. The design here was by Jamie Stegmaier, world building and art by Jacob Rowalski, and I can tell you the artwork, as you can see, is absolutely phenomenal. It's a really interesting mix of Eastern Europa kind of mixed with some mechs and everything else. It's kind of got some machinery going on in the background that you wouldn't normally see in a farming type landscape. Over here in the far left hand corner, there's the Automa factory symbol for the solo mode. Again, this was built with solo mode included from the get-go, so that's what's so awesome about this game, is it was not tacked on the side. It was built within the game itself, and it's done very well. So I'm just going to zoom this back out so we can see the box again. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to unbox this thing, because I'm really excited to add this into my collection, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this unboxing. So I'm going to flip this over, but first, before I do, I'll flip it on its side and show you guys the side, because the artwork is something to take in for sure. They do a really good job of covering all sides of the box. So every side of the box has some really fantastic artwork that really pops. So when it's sitting on your shelf, people are going to see this from a mile away. So it's not just all looks, of course. It always comes down to actual gameplay. But man, does it ever help to have a nice fancy box sitting on your shelf. Now what I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is the type of game that I can truly get rid of a box like this, but I really want to go after the collector's box, which allows for all expansions to basically be piled into one. But we'll see how things go. So we got the back of the box here. It says Scythe. We're going to zoom this in so you guys can see it a little bit. We'll read it, and I'll go over what's on the back here, and then we're going to actually, of course, tear it open and see what's inside. So right here, you're going to see we got a couple character miniatures, mech miniatures. We're going to see them outside the box in a few seconds, so I won't show too much more of that. This section of the box here basically just gives a little bit of text and flavor text to the actual box itself. So it says, while empires rise and fall in Eastern Europa, the rest of the world takes notice. 2 distinct factions, the Albion and the Togawa, if I'm saying that correctly, send emissaries to scout the land and employ their own distinct styles of conquering. This expansion to Scythe adds 2 new factions, 10 miniatures, 62 custom wood tokens, and 2 faction mats. It also includes some new cardboard tokens, 2 player mats, for use in games ranging from 1 to 7 players, because you can play this game with 7 guys going at the same time, which is crazy. 6 Automa cards for solo play, yes, and what else does it say here? And a custom plastic insert designed to fit into the expansion box or the original Scythe box. So they've even thought about being able to take the expansion and bring it into your previous game. So we've already talked about the outside of the box enough. Let's actually tear this thing open and see what's inside. So we're going to take the knife right here. We're going to cut across the side, and we're going to see what's inside of this. I cannot wait to add this into my game. So first off, I want to give you guys a good look at the box, because without any shrink wrap on it, because it obviously looks much better without any actual shrink wrap on top of it. So there we go. Actually looks quite nice. And then we're going to go ahead and take the top of the box right off. Let's see what happens here. Slowly unveiling the contents underneath, and there we go. Wow. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. So we've got alright, so basically, if you're familiar with Scythe at all, you're going to have the same type of setup inside the original box. You've got all kinds of plastic tokens, or plastic wooden tokens, my mistake. So you're going to have a couple different bags for each faction, and they're colored, which is awesome, so you don't have to worry about doing anything to distinguish them between factions. So again, you've got kind of like a number of different wooden tokens here. So they're going to increase or just basically give you that faction's same types of tokens that you'd find in the base game, but for the particular color that matches. So there's all the different ones. They're quite nice. They're solid, and I've never had an issue with any of them, at least in the base game so far. I've never had a single one break on me or anything. They're well made. So there's an example of some of them outside of the packaging. So let's see what else we got here. We got some these ones here. We got some stars and some of the actual cubes themselves. So they're all, of course, if you're familiar with Scythe, then this makes, there's no point in going through this during the unboxing in terms of what they all mean, even though I know what they mean, but there's no point in adding that in, because it's not going to add too much, but basically just know that everything is here that you'll need for your 2 new factions that come inside this box. So basically, again, similar thing for the other faction, exact same setup in terms of the different types of tokens. So we'll put those all aside for now. We're going to focus on the miniatures for a second, because here's that casing that you can just go ahead and drop inside your original box if you want to. So we're going to go ahead and take the plastic off here and get into the miniatures. But first, before I do that, I first have to deal with some tape that is well put on here to the point of being extremely difficult to separate. Let's see if I can use my knife here to make this easy. There we go. That makes my life easier. Okay, so I'll get that other side off later on. So there we go. So here are our leaders, our characters. So here's one right there. Hopefully you guys can see that nicely. So looks pretty cool. I can't wait. And the thing too is, like, I'd really love to paint these up. It would be awesome. If I get some time, I would absolutely love to do that. So there you go, front and back of that one. And then the opposite faction. I don't know which faction's which yet, so you have to forgive me for that. Not familiar enough with them. This guy's got a lot of detail going on. It's either a boar or a... I don't know what that is. I probably should know that. If someone knows in the comment below, in the comments below, let me know. And then of course we got our mechs. The mechs are so cool. So we got 4 of them, because that's how many you can deploy. And of course they're going to be unique to each faction. So that's one other thing about Scythe that looks awesome, is that every faction is a very, very unique looking mech. And they're very, very cool when they show up on the board. It's usually bad news bears for everybody involved. And they're really well done. They're always quality. They look good. Hope that's focusing for you guys. You have to apologize. I'll have to apologize a little bit, as I'm using a little bit of digital zoom here, so I might be losing a little bit of the quality there. But hopefully that gives you a good idea as to what they look like. I really like the color choices. They definitely pop. But typically the expansion colors, when a game goes ahead and adds expansions in and they want to color code things, typically the ones that come in that are expansion content typically get the lesser of the better choices of colors, or they just don't really stick out as much as the base game ones. But these absolutely do. They really, really pop, and I like that look. I love the color choice. It's fantastic. You're going to get a bunch of baggies inside, so again, to organize things, you'll find that in every single Scythe base game or expansion you'll come across. This one here, we've got the, looks like this is the backstory for these particular factions, so that's actually really cool. Give you a little bit of history maybe on these guys and where they're coming from, how to incorporate them, their components, the faction components. This is, again, it's more of a breakdown that I was talking about from before if you want to find out. There you go. So now we know the names of each of the factions based on the color, the faction mats, the action tokens. So it's going to go through every single token and let you know what they're all called. And if you've played the game before, as I have, you'll know them already. But if you're new, then of course you probably should have the base game. You need the base game before you can even bother putting this expansion in. And then of course it talks about each of the 2 different clans. So that's fantastic. A nice little that's going to be really cool to read that actually, and get a little bit of background on either of the 2 factions in the game, as well as a nice little backstory in the back. So that's pretty cool. Right here is the Automa for, let's see, what is this for? This is the, I guess this is the Automa. So this is going to be talking solo, I guess, is what which is really cool. Probably what I'll be focusing on mainly. The components, 4 replacement cards for the Automa deck, 2 Automa reference cards with specific rule changes for the 2 new factions. Okay, so that's really important. Your setups, your gameplay. So this is going to all, yeah, that's actually quite important. Looks like it's got some really good ones. And then there's the Automa. Okay, so it's specifically talking about using the Automa to control these 2 new factions and how that's actually going to take place. So there's a whole sheet for that, but it's a nice reference sheet, something that's like just handy and it doesn't take up too much space. So that's really cool. You got your faction mats. These faction mats always look really nice. Now I don't know if this is actually, I'm forgetting off the top of my head what the official name. This may not be the faction mat. I forget there's another term. It could be, but either way, there's 2 boards I think per, if I'm not forgetting. And so there's one, and then the second. So let's see which one's which here. That is the purple is the Togawa, and the green is the Albion, if I'm saying that correctly. All right, so here's the green one. That's pretty awesome. Connor and Max. Oh, it's right there. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing. Pretty cool. So, interesting. Some different types of mech abilities there. So again, if you're familiar with the game, you know, when you deploy your mechs, when you take a mech off of this and deploy it, you know, the ability that's underneath of it becomes active and you get to use it. So there's a bunch of things there that's going to be talked about when I go ahead and start doing the playthrough, which is going to happen. This is really cool. You're going to get some 50-cent coins. I think this is the first time technically they're in the game if you only got the base game. But I actually bought the actual real metal coin 50s, which are really, really heavy and super nice looking. And then of course you get a couple tokens for the game here. This one says Meander. You got this one here says move to any unoccupied farm. Bunch of other tokens to add into the game, so that's awesome. Underneath this you got these Automa cards, so some are new and some of them are replacement. Even I think it might even break it down for you, not too sure. So let me just go through these really quick because they don't mean much on their own, but I guess if you're familiar with the solitaire in the first one, then that matters quite a bit. So we've got, these are the backs of the cards in this particular pack here, and then these 2 right here. So these 2 looks like they are rule changes and encounter factory continued cards, and then right here you've got kind of the Automa. So this is where like it's not worth explaining how these look really confusing. I'll tell you that. If you've never played the game before and you look at this, you're gonna go, oh, that doesn't mean anything to me. Looks like a bunch of gears and meeples and coins everywhere. There's a bunch of charts on the side and stuff too, but it does make sense once you actually learn the rules to the Automa. It's very well done. So that'll be something I can help explain in further videos. This is what's really cool, and I do apologize again for not remembering whether these are called faction mats or these are the faction mats. But regardless, you also get one of these for each of your factions, and this is where you're going to be doing the majority of your actions. So basically each rectangle, even though there's a ton of little squares and symbols everywhere, are going to be its own action. So this is one area, this is an area, this is an area, and this is an area. Plus cards in the game can actually give you more. What's really cool is you'll notice there it's indented enough that if you have a cube, which we do, because every single one of these expansion packs, or factions I should say, have cubes, they actually sit inside of them at the start of the game, and then as you unlock them throughout the game, you basically remove it, and then you now show the benefit underneath of it. It's a really cool system. I like it. It keeps things from being knocked around. You don't need to buy a special tray because everything sits on this sheet, which is awesome. So this one is for the, and I hope I'm doing this correct. There's the back, by the way, which looks absolutely phenomenal, as almost every Scythe component ever does, or they always do. And then we've got the other one here. So again, completely different background artwork, always looks amazing, really sets the tone for the faction. And then again, you'll notice that not everything is the same. They're not all cookie cutter. So you'll notice that the actual, a lot of the things that are on these 2 boards don't match up. So there's a lot of differences between the factions. So that's where I'm saying you're getting your money's worth by picking this expansion up, because you truly are adding basically 2 full-on new factions with their own strategies involved, and that's what's really cool here. So hopefully this was a good overview to show you guys what's inside the box. I know it didn't explain how these things change or impact the current game, but that doesn't make much sense to explain during an unboxing. So hopefully this helps you, just shows you what's inside of it, what you can expect if you're looking to pick it up, and hopefully it was useful for you. So thanks so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.